Hey guys, back with part 4 of the DUP/programming examples here. So as I said last time, I'm going to move on to the strength block that we talked about. As you can see, it's still following the general outline as before, going um, hypertrophy, higher volume in the beginning of the week, power in the middle, and then strength or maximal strength more at the end. You can see this time that I have taken a rest day. Now, that's not something that's absolutely needed, but during strength, we are trying to minimize fatigue to the greatest extent. And even though higher volumes of strength work have shown greater outcomes, we do want to still make sure that now that we're getting very specific and overload is a greater parameter, that we're still making sure that we're recovering and getting our best performances. Sometimes with hypertrophy work, adding more volume is good given recovery, and you can add just another set, another rep, etc., etc. But here in hypertrophy work, we really want to make sure, in strength work, we really make sure that we have an ability to add weight to the bar, as that becomes our more important variable, as what are we trying to do? Get stronger. So I'd like to just have a day of rest in there. Again, not needed. So if we look across the week now, you'll see one general trend as well, is that we started to consolidate the days somewhat to upper and lower. So that way there is not as much crossover day to day. So just to come back up here really quick, you can see that each day featured maybe a little bit upper and a little bit lower, because in our volume blocks, our abilities being reduced are okay. That we can't use our maximal weights here because volume's the number one driver of hypertrophy. But here we really make sure, as before, that we're recovering. So having separate days and time between sessions is important. So that way we can make sure that we're able to put all of our effort into those days. So you can see here is a lower, upper. Here I had a upper mixed with the lower because one is our strength, our power day. So it should be a lighter day in general, serve as power development and technique development. And then also the preceding day is a rest day. So having these bent rows there, your back's going to be a little bit tired after deadlift, and having these bent rows there should be okay for our next leg day because we have that rest day there. And then, of course, we have our maximal strength day. This should actually be changed to a 7.5. Sorry about that, not 2.5. So a little bit challenging there. And then again, finishing with our upper body day. Now, again, as I mentioned in previous videos, some of these accessory movements or movements in general are just what I've chosen. I decided to make these programs very simple and more focused on increasing the back squat, bench, and deadlift in terms of your goal at the end. Eventually, we will make ones that may be more general strength power or athleticism, as you will, bodybuilding, etc. But this is just getting a lot of general ideas out there. So a lot of these accessories aren't the ones you need to choose. For example, you could use a safety bar here or do a rear foot elevated split squat. Instead of a bent barbell row, you could still have pull-ups in there. But to me, these are some of the ones I really like and give you a big bang for your buck. So following this general trend, back squat, still 3 times a week, anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week for back squats, or the quads in general has been shown to be really good. Deadlift is a little bit more fatiguing, so it's only in there twice, but we still have stiff leg deadlifts because I think they're a good movement following back squats. And because we are still kind of in that strength block, I think having some hamstring, potential hamstring hypertrophy with maybe the end of hypertrophy zone with 6 reps in there is still good. And then, of course, as we get later into the week, we just go to regular deadlifts. I chose to have these pauses in there because, they're going to reduce the load, so they allow you to get a little bit extra volume, but they also serve as good technique practice and good breath practice. So learning to stay tight in the bottom and drive out of the hole. So a quicker video here, as there's not too much to say, because a lot of things were said in hypertrophy. It's the same principles, just changing up the rep range slightly, consolidating days to now more of an upper-lower split, looking to manage fatigue even more with a rest day in there, and still following the general outline of hypertrophy-ish power strength. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. Hopefully I can think of more things to say on this and expand as we keep going. I might show how we might progress this block from week to week, and then move into our maximal strength block, where we will do some heavy singles and really get even more specific on the program. Here as well, if you wanted to, you could throw in some heavy singles for the main movements of the day. Probably same RPE, 7 to 8, never going above 9, definitely not maxing, to serve as technique development and really teach you how to work with those maximal weights. Some other fun things you could do now that I'm thinking about it, especially on this power speed days with this technique development, maybe throw in some bodyweight movements like some jumps or sprints or throws. But again, just keeping this very general outline here. So let me know if you guys have any questions. See ya.